So here we go. Let's talk about some of the fancier leaves. Now, these are the kind of leaves that basically are the methods that you see a lot, that French beaters have used to make fancy edge leaves a lot. And remember, we talked about you could either do sort of the flange method where you have these edges. I don't know what that's called. And we're lacing those down. That's the one I use most often for leaves of this size. And then, or these ones where you're doing scalloping with the little notches at top, the little nubs at top there. And I like the way that these look. I end up using these more for small, and then you can combo these two effects. Again, I will send a picture out to show you a larger leaf with the combo, some parts of it like that, and then it changes into that. And those I just kind of freeform. I just freeform those as I'm going, especially the larger ones. I just go with the shape, the one I'm seeing at the time. So this one is the one that's on our, the one I actually finished already because I thought I had done the leaf video. So it's on this one, and it's kind of nice. You can get a nice curvature out of it. It looks pretty. It looks cool from like all angles. From the side, you see the curvature. From the top, you see the notches and the bend to it. So it really is kind of graceful with this, that sounds cheesy, but you know what I mean. With this sort of flower, it looks pretty. So that one I'm going to do first. And if you don't want to deal with the lacing effect or the lacing, then you can try the other one, and you can decide which one you like. And again, a lot of times I will do larger ones of these so that, of either style, so that they can kind of stick out, among the blossoms. Or even if you have a vase bouquet or any kind of actually arrangement, I'll put a bunch of these like down at the bottom, like as the greenery on the bottom, and you can combo them and do whatever you'd like to. So this is just my take on these. And I really am horrible at recording how to do leaves. I actually did this after the fact for this video, wrote these down. Normally I just kind of do them honestly by eye. And so I just pick a size and off I go. So this I think is the 1 3/4. I have two varieties here. I have a 1 3/4 one, and I have a 2-inch one. Now you don't have to be super anything around that. The main thing is the flange length on the side. We want it to kind of hit here and hit here and hit here. So that depends on what size our initial 3-row basic frame is, like how far. But again, it won't be a big. I've made ones, and I've kept them on the plant because I was like, or on the arrangement, where like literally this top flange was like this far past the middle one, and then it just looks kind of very, I don't know, looks kind of interesting. So you don't have to get too hung up with that. Okay, this is just, I know that these counts work and they produce this, so that's what I'm going to show you. But you can freeform these. You can freeform them. Just get comfortable. The more you experiment, the more you start to see that like you can kind of do your own thing. And even if you do like to use patterns, you can still adapt those, right? It's like a recipe, a cookbook recipe. You can like, a little pinch here, a little bit extra there. I make the spiced pumpkin cheesecake for every Thanksgiving. My family seems to be addicted to it. And, I'll be honest, I like the recipe, but I don't think I've ever used it exactly. Ever. I'm Italian. That's what we do. We don't use, us and recipes don't mix. Their recipes are suggestions. And I kind of think patterns are suggestions also, right? So, what are you going to do? My husband's Japanese, and it seems culturally the Japanese very much like recipes. My mother-in-law very much follows them. So she always asks for exact recipes for me, so I have to end up figuring out what I made exactly, which is what I did here. I'm trying to figure out what I did after the fact. So, and then I remade them to make sure it actually worked. So we're going to give it a try. And we're going to start with these. So the second one, so there's 3 kind of fancy, these are air quotes again, fancy varieties. And the first 2 though are, I don't need to show you the second one because the second one is the same as the first one. It's just with less lacing. So if you want to give this one a try first, I will have this in the PDF. It has less lacing because here we're going to have to lace across here, here, and here. And here we only have to lace twice, which is actually a big difference. If you think about it. Now, I haven't tried the lace as you go method at all. I'm sure I've heard it's really good and I should try it. And I certainly haven't tried it with these open loops on the side. give it a try. What the heck? Again, worst case scenario, you just redo something. And you'll always end up with something you can use at some point. Even if you don't want to use it on the particular flower you're making it for, just stick it in your bin of odds and ends, as I said before, and just, you know, keep it around. Okay, so let's get going with this guy. So we're going to make this one. We're going to start with the 1 3/4 one, which means we're going to do 2 sets of open loop flanges. Honestly, I don't know where that word came from in my head. It's not like I use it every day. And I almost think it's kind of not like a fun word. It's kind of like one of those words where I don't really like it. But then there's a neck set and a neck set. Now you can V-lace these. You can lace them like, I don't know, I flipped it. You can't tell anyway. You can lace the top as a V if you're comfortable with that. But to be honest, I like these to be really tight. Meaning like I like just only the tips to be loose right here. Only like from that down. So like 5 beads on each side down, like, so like 1/4 of an inch loose of these. And if you V-lace them, you're going to have a lot more loose than that. So up to you, you know, your level of comfort. If you don't know what I'm talking about, trust me, don't worry about it right now. Okay, I just lost the end of my wire, so let me find that. Okay, so I'm going to take out 1 3/4, if I can find my ruler. Oh, that is not where I keep my ruler. What the heck was that? Okay, so 1 3/4, my handy dandy, well-loved, I must have had for a long time ruler. But I like this kind, again, 'cause I've said this before, because it has the little metal strip on it, which is really handy if you do beads, because your 11 will fit any beads, but your 11s really fit right on that ledge, so it makes it really easy to hold it and measure. So, let's see what we got. We're going to take out 1 3/4, and we're going to start with that. So, you know, and it's not, again, these are forgiving. You don't have to be like down to the millimeter. You know, so 1 3/4. And straighten that out. And then I think I hear my dog getting up to no good in the kitchen. So I'm going to pause this for a half second. I'll be right back. So he was definitely up to no good. Half Chihuahua, half Rat Terrier. I think he's a little more Chihuahua though. Maybe it's 3/4. Anyway, definitely causes quite a combo of holy cow action. Got to be really careful with him. He will get into anything. Our other little one, half Dachshund, half Chihuahua, definitely not as mischievous, let's just say. Anyhow, back to the matter at hand. So we're going to do the 1 3/4 options. We're going to chop off 1 3/4. And we're going to quickly do a 3-row. And so this is the one we're doing right here. I think it's probably better if I don't have it in the background though. Because it gets a little bit busy. So we're going to quickly do a 1 3/4. So I'm giving, you know, wrapping it off about, I don't know, 1.5 inches of bare wire on the bottom here. Doing my twist, doing a bunch about, you know, that long of a loop. About, I don't know, 4.5 inches or so. I want a lot of wire to wire down because, again, these stand alone on the side of the stem. So I want to have a lot of stability with them. And that's just probably my paranoia. Probably doesn't do anything after the first inch. But I feel better about it. So I'm going to do a quick twist. Twist it down about, you know, we look at this one. We can see we're going to need, you know, at least like, you know, almost 3/4 of an inch. So I want to go a little bit past that. So about 1.5 inches, 1 1/4 of twist. And then I'm going to straighten my wire out. I'm going to do a quick 3-row, round bottom, pointed top, basic frame. Let me squish this out of the way more. Okay, so it's not in the background. Let's get some of our stuff up here. So let's do that really fast. So that just means I'm just going around once, basically. So again, I'm going to pinch the bottom off. Holding that there. If you didn't watch the other, if you fast forwarded through the other basic frame part, I'm going to hold that down. Make sure that I get that sort of round bottom, especially because I'm only going around once. So I don't have any other chance to sort of, you know, magnify the effect. It's just the first time is the only time. But again, I want to kind of pinch it. I want it to be nice and close. See, so I get that bottom. I'm kind of shaping it and pinching it. I spend a lot of time shaping them, probably more than I should. So I want it kind of be, probably don't need to spend that long. And now the top again is going to be bent down. Notice when I shape these things, I'm going to be bending them down. So don't get too hung up on like how, like the angle of the top, because it's going to be pointed down anyway. So the main thing we want though is no gap in between actual beads. And we want to keep the rows tight. okay, next to each other. So, and you can, again, you're the boss of the wire. You shape it, you get it there, you do the little jiggle, you do whatever you got to do and get it closer. Now, so then we'll go up to the top. I'm going to chop off about one bead past where the original wire ends, where the original beads end. Okay, I'm going to throw that down there. So I'm going to just hit it at an angle again, hitting it at an angle. And I'm holding this side under here. I'm holding the center wire here, and it's getting kind of artificially bent. It's getting, I don't know, artificially, it's getting bent this way. It's okay, I'm going to straighten it later. It's because I really want this tight thing. I want to do it until it's tight and until this bead collides against that wire. And I'm twisting and I'm bringing it around, holding this steady where it's at, and then pushing it back down in a V, folding it so it comes across here, and then folding it back over like that. So it's going right again. You control the wire. Again, you control it. I know I keep saying that, but it's something to remember. Uh-oh. I made too much lead blank wire on my beading side right now. So, okay. So here's what we're just going to finish off this basic frame part, the center. And again, I push this artificial with my thumb so it bows in, and so it's going to lie right up against. That makes it get really tight up against the other thing. So I just keep going like that. And again, I'm going to make this straight, holding it, right? Holding it. And then I'm going to cut it off. So right there, a little bit under maybe, it's going to bow out like that. That's okay. That's still good. And I'm pushing it again really. This is what we talked about with the last basic frame segment. I'm pushing it really hard. See, against here, I'm having this bead colliding against this one, holding everything else back here, pulling it back, both of these, pulling back the twisted wire and the wire I'm working with. So I think that must be the working wire. It seems logical, but sometimes I think the same things seem logical and then it's not what I think they are. So again, I'm pulling that there. I kept letting go, so it got a little bit wonky, right? In fact, I think I dropped a bead because I was trying to show you guys. So let's double check that. Oh yeah, I definitely dropped a bead. So possibly two. So I'm going to start again. Worst case scenario, if it feels weird, just go back, right? I'm trying to show you, like, even if you mess up everything. So now we got that. Now I'm not going to try to show you guys as I do this. I'm going to cut off right, kind of underestimating the bead, meaning if it hits like right at the middle, and I think it's at the middle of a bead where, it would be perfect, then I take that bead off. I don't go over, I go underestimating. Because then I get a nice straight thing, right? Nice straight three. Let's squish this down. I think I've never had this happen where it gets that out of shape, but that's because I think I'm trying to show you and talk, live and learn. But then again, look, we can straighten it right back up. It looks nice and clean, straight. The rows are next to each other, all as well. You can always go back too. Now here's the deal. Did I really not record this? Oh my goodness, I'm so funny. Oh no, I can do this I was worrying about the scallops. Okay, sorry for that pause. I was thinking I had to cut the wire to do this. You don't have to cut the wire to do this flange method, which is also good. You have to cut the wire to do the scallop method. I'm pointing at something that you can't see. Okay, so now it's saying for the first set of flanges, I want I'm doing 1 3/4 version, so I want 4 inches. So, and that will make it hit where it needs to hit. So I'm going to get out my ruler here, and I'm going to stretch it out, and I'm going to get 4 inches onto here, right? So I'm going to cut out, again, don't get too hung up on it. 4 inches. It'll be a little bit off or a little bit, it's really okay. Now what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make an open loop with this. See, so I'm making 4 inches of beads, and I'm keeping them tight. Again, keeping it real tight, pushing. And I'm going to bring that around on top of the coiled wire, of the twisted wire. And I'm going to make sure, this is one thing that happens, is make sure your beads down here on the top of this, or what it might be the bottom of those 4 inches, but the first beads are really flush against the twisted wire. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to pinch it. I'm pinching it to hold it. Now this is going to be hard to show you because the pinching actually helps. I'm going to do the same thing where I want it, I'm pinching it so that I can hold this bottom bead so it will collide with the twisted wire. You can kind of see that's sort of my MO. I'm sure it's many people's without even thinking about it sometimes. So It's not normally this complicated looking. It's just because I'm trying to show it to you at the same time. So I want this bead, no gaps in here. And sometimes I make them almost so tight that it's even hard to hold them down, but that keeps the shape, and so that's good. So once I get it all the way tight, and again, I'm doing it all the way pushed against here, I'm going to do a quick wrap around, and I'm going to pull the wire up towards the top because I want to keep it as tight. These can sometimes slip down. That's okay. You can push them back up. Now, I have a lot of bare wire, so let me just get this wrapped up a little bit. I left it a little too much bare wire on my paddle. So I keep having to reach down every time I go for like a new batch of beads. They're like 6 yards away. Okay, that's an exaggeration. My arms are not that long. Okay, so I just wanted to be a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, awesome. Keep the paddle up here and see if that works. Okay, so let's get going a little bit faster. Now, depending on whether you're right-handed, left-handed, whatever, one side, it's easier, will be easier than another side to wrap, or depending on how your hands work. So again, for the first pair, it's 4 beads each. Now, I used to do 4 inches plus 1 or 2 because this is just me being picky, because if you notice, if this is going to hit here, then the next pair is going to hit a little bit further down, which means that when I make the loop and fold it up, and flatten the loop out, this one will be further down, so it wouldn't get up quite so high. So you can throw in an extra bead or 2, or you can just not worry about it. It's up to your level of pickiness. So like I said, I would sometimes do 4 inches and add 2 beads. And then sometimes it didn't even matter depending on how the beads played out. So we can add 2 beads. We can see what happens. We'll add 2 beads and might next time add 1 bead. So I find it easier to do this side with the way my hands work. So in the same thing, I'm pushing again. And I'm going to, now I'm pushing, so there's no space right at the end. Keep this kind of flat down, keep it straight. And see, now there's some gappage there, right? So I'm going to push this so there's not. And then I'm going to bring this around, and maybe it's just a right-handed thing, so maybe it's true of all right-handers. It's just easier for me to do this side. And because I can hold it this way, and I can then bring that collision bead, again, that bottom bead colliding against the twisted wire so it's tight, and bring it up and around, and I'm pushing. I really want to lock that in, just like we talked about with the basic frame. And you want to kind of keep these straight, but again, we're going to bend that's going to happen while you're working. We're going to bend them later. We're going to lace them too. So things that look kind of a little bit iffy right now are going to end up not being so iffy. So this one, like if I flatten these, this one's going to be up here, and then that 2 bead almost looks like it was too long on this one. To add that 2 bead kind of made it a little bit not, I should have just kept it at 4. They're kind of uneven, right? So that was an experiment. And the point with that is, who cares if they're exactly the same size or not at this? Now, and if you do care, guess what you can do? Unwrap, twist a little bit like that so it straightens out, and pop them off. Boom, gone. Put them back. I'm trying to show you, even if things happen that you don't like, and then put it back on there, wrap it around. Sometimes it depends on the beads, whether that you need that extra oomph or not. So let's just go with the 4 inches on each side. Now the next one is going to be 3.5 inches each pair. So again, we do 3.5 inches. I don't really shape them until the end. It might be easier if you do. You can decide what works for you. So 3.5 inches. And so the way I'm keeping this kind of straight, keeping things straight, like in a line here. Holding, pushing so that there's no play on the beads. Fold them up like that. Just kind of push it up. Bring your bottom forefinger and thumb right up at the base there. Get that bead, that collision bead there. I don't know, that's a new term I'm coming up with. The collision bead, that bottom bead, you're having it collide against the twisted wire so that it's tight, right? And then I just do a twist in there, however your hands are comfortable with it. Pinching and keeping it, where it needs to be under my thumb right now. And then I'm pulling this one up. And again, it's going to slip a little bit because these tend to slip a little bit. But that's okay. You can mush them back up at the end. That's why we try to keep them as tight as possible as we go. So again, 3.5. These are actually fairly fast to make. I find these faster than the scallop ones, I think. See how they just slipped like that? Okay, so what? Push it back up. Push it back up. At the end, you're going to do the twist off, so it'll stay for sure. So, okay, so then this one I just bring back around. Again, I'm going over top, getting the beads, get that out of the background, getting the beads to collide, with the twisted thing, wrapping it once around, so 180 wrap, coming out the other side. We are almost done. They're pretty darn fast once you get going. The lacing is going to take a bit of time. So let's see, let's do about 3-incher on that one. And again, not that concerned. Even if the pairs that are supposed to be the same length aren't the same length, so what? Nature leaves. It's okay. So keep this one straight and this straight. And then look at how wonky that looks. That's okay. We're going to straighten out in a second. And we're going to lace it, which is going to get all things back in order. Okay, so again, bringing back the bottom one. And for some reason, I guess it's the right-handedness, I am not comfortable with doing this side. So it's just always sort of a struggle to keep everything going with that. And so I just want to keep that tight as possible. Wrap it up. Somehow it got snagged up a little bit over there. Okay, push it down. Actually, I should have messed with it. It was okay. Pull it down. And then we do our last loop, our outer open loop. I don't know what to say. It's not really open. So, and do 3 inches, pull that off. Okay, and then this side again, this is my last one. So, let's get this out of the way. So I want to keep it really, now I'm going to mash it down. I'm going to mash everything down because I'm about to tie it totally off, right? I want to push and pull. I'm always pushing and pulling with this, pushing with this, pushing that way, pulling that way. Okay, so then I'm going to bring this on top. I'm going to mash everything all the way up. And I'm going to tightly wrap so that I'm almost the first few twists, I'm almost underneath. I'm pushing up, right? That's locking in. And look how mangled this is. It's going to be straightened up in a second. I am not even remotely worried. That actually looks pretty good for one. Okay, so after the first 2 wraps, then I just wrap all the way down, all the way down the end of the coil one. And so we're going to do our cut off now. So we cut off a little bit to the side, as always. Ouch, and I just stabbed myself with the wire, which happens all the time. And let's tie this guy off. There we go. That was a messy knot. Ow, I did poke myself. Okay. So now we're going to treat it like, see, look how mangled that is because of me holding it and twisting. It's okay. Flatten. It's already looking better. Okay. So I'm going to actually do my kind of clipping now so that the reason I want to do this now is because I don't want anything to be moving anymore. I don't want this to move up and kind of squish up on the top wire. I don't want this to squish down. So I'm going to make sure my ends right now before I move on into the next stage are flattened and ready to roll. And I do that tamping down thing again. So I'm kind of pulling these up a little bit out of the way. And I want to tamp down because, again, that locks it in also. But it does make that cider profile a lot flatter for when I put it along the stem wire. Okay, so now I've got this thing that looks a tad messy. Kind of interesting though too in its own way, right? So now I'm going to flatten out the sides because remember we're looking for like this situation, right? So this isn't really flat, right? Fairly flat. So we're looking for it to look like that, right? This at one point looked exactly like that at one point. Probably worse. So it's all about the lacing and the shaping. So first things first, let's shape our side flanges, make them flat. So we're going to flatten them down, going to pull them up, kind of just pull them up along the sides as you go. One way I do it here, let me actually go back to the open circles because you'll look like this. It should look like this when you're done. I already had stretched them out to see if they were the same length, remember? Normally you won't do that, so it'll look like this when you're done. So the way, you might have different hand movements and ways that it makes sense for you. And don't worry if this bottom wire gets a little bit, there we go, now it's straight again. So now what I normally do to get it right up against, see how there's like when you look at this one, it's like right up against there. There's no space in between my loop flame. You can't, if I just showed you that, you wouldn't be able to tell that these were like loops attached to the sides. So how I do that is I start with, and you can find your own way to smooth it, but this is how I do it. If and it can work, is I start with, it looks like this, and I take my thumb inside the loop. You'll do this with each loop, and I take the top side of the loop and I take my thumb and I smooth it up along from the base, just about halfway or so. And then I take the bottom part of the loop and do the same thing, just so I can get that. I want to really make sure I get the bottom along with it. And these things are wiggly and jiggly. That's what I'm saying. These are not necessarily beginner things, but they're good practice because you can use these for all kinds of flowers, and you'll probably see them in all kinds of, some variety of them, all kinds of books or patterns. So, and again, you can kind of wiggle them along the way so that these stay straight with each other. Now, depending on your style, you could leave them kind of fluffy like that. I like them to be really tight again. And I'm going to see that if I do it this way, that would be my top bead. And I'm going to do my, yeah, you guessed it, I'm biting it. And I can flatten that right up against there. And I want just like maybe the top 1/4 of an inch or so is going to be loose. Right. Now, sometimes you can do more than that. And in fact, I've done a lot more than that. I just like them now to kind of just have just like the very top nubs to be loose there. And the rest to be laced down. You can decide where you're going to lace it. And so then I normally go to the other side. I don't want to do all one side because I want to kind of keep things, I want to balance, go back and forth. That way, just the wire has less chance to get out of control. So again, for some reason, maybe it's a right-handed thing. The left side is just a lot easier to do. So I put my forefinger in there, straighten that up about halfway, take this one up, holding it here because I want it to stay in line with that row. Now you're going to be lacing these down, so they're going to get comfy with each other, right? So I'm pulling it flat, and it would look like this bead right there looks like, to me, like that would be the top bead. So I'm going to do a little, I'm going to pinch them. You can pinch them. I like to always have that one bead up there because I'm weird like that. Even on here, I'll pick it so there's like one bead sticking up top, but not so much of a deal breaker on this one. I guess it's not technically a deal breaker ever. So I'm biting because my hands are particularly not so great today. So there we go. We got those two, and you'll start to do this faster. It's harder to like kind of do it and explain if I were just like feeling it, and you could do it. And I can already see it's a little loose there. That's okay. You're going to be bending these and no one's going to really see the really big base, but see how you're aiming for that sort of continuity there. So again, let's just do it kind of fast so you can watch what I'm doing. I'm pushing up, both of them in the shorter route. I'm getting all the way to the top, and I'm seeing that I have that bead would be my top, and it's kind of making a flat thing there. So I'm going to take the side of anything that's, don't use sharp things. This is both together. And I'm making a top, like a continuous loop kind of top looking thing. Same on this side, just pulling it up, thumb, forefinger, whatever works. Holding the base so that it stays curved along the base. And then again, getting up to the top. I'm going to give myself that kind of sharp edge with it. Okay, so I just mushed it because I'm, again, trying to show it once. So now we got this going on, right? Last one. Again, holding the bottom. You have to be holding the bottom to keep everything sort of, because you wanted to keep it out and following along the previous rows. So the short one, it's actually a lot easier to do it. You just kind of bend them together almost, and because I do it so tight, I mean, you could even do it looser. It's probably, I always err on the side of it being too tight. Moving it, it's actually hard to move, but I like that because then when I bend it, it really stays together. Last one, folding up. And then, pick a bead that looks like your top bead. Just pick one that looks like it's on top. And this one I'm definitely gonna have to bite. Wonder if any of you are actually biting them too. You should let me know. Well, don't need to. But sometimes you get like this little extra gap, which I think that's okay. Once you lace it down, it's gonna be fine. So right now, that's what we got looking at us, and it's looking good, right? You can already see that whole thing, that whole floppy thing, because again, what's our motto? We're the boss of the wire. The wire is not the boss of us. I wanted this shape. I had the correct lengths of wire. I made it that shape because with those lengths of wire, I can make this shape, right? With those lengths of beads, let's say, for example. So now we're going to do our triple lacing. For these, I start along the bottom. I think I normally do that. Sometimes I start at the top because it depends on where I kind of want the error factor to go to. But this one, I kind of want to push the error out, meaning like if things, You know, I start at the bottom and I want it to kind of do its thing. Though I feel like I've sometimes started these at the top too. But I think the bottom's safer. Now with the dark green, I end up using black wire. I have, you know, all kinds of like 32 gauge, 30 gauge green wire. I've even got ones that say they're olive and stuff. But these, like, so like this, like I have tons of ones like this. You know, I keep buying, so I'm always on the lookout for like our true like olive, like the artistic wire olive green is like super olive. And then these are the ones I end up getting, right? Like this one I think is even, this one's called green. This one, well, these are both green, but even the one that's called olive green looks basically like this. The problem with that is that they're really actually kind of noticeable. They're too light. So if you're doing a dark green, I actually just go black. The 32 gauge black works fine. And it disappears a lot better because it's darker, so it disappears into it. So, you know, cut out, I don't know. I like to, for my hands, I really need to have a lot to grip onto. You can probably lace with something less. And if you do a lace as you go, that might work too. So, but for me, I'm going to lace this way. So what I want to do is I want to lace right across. Now, see, this one got a little bit sideways wonky. That's okay. Push it over. Bring it back. There you go. See, the wire got a little bit sideways as I was shaping. And it's okay if your tips of each pair are not totally, and you can actually bend it so they are. The whole center wire, right? My center wire was just totally, I should have shown you better, kind of diagonal. So I'm actually bending that back. Because it's not like a traditional basic frame. There's a lot of play once you get down here, right? It's not just one wire in the center. It's sort of a little different feeling. If you haven't done it before, you'll see what I mean. And if you have, you know what I mean, I'm sure. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to lace about 1/4 of an inch down across, 1/4 of an inch down across, and 1/4 of an inch down across. Now, I should try this with laces, yo. You can totally try that. I mean, you should. I wish I had that done ahead of time. I'm just one of those, again, I'm not really good at watching videos or reading instructions, and this is how I started lacing, so this is how I lace. So I go through the, you know, I go through from the top. This is the top right now. I'm going through the middle, and I'm going to kind of scale it down, because if I was across here, I'd want it to be right about there. So right about at that bead. So you can't really see that because I know it's a really small wire with it. But I'm getting the bead. So right now, the lacing wire is right there, which means it'll go across and hit right about there and there. So I'm going to flip it over, kind of keeping it pinched. You know, I want it at that bead. And I'm going to do a single crossover. And I'm going to get it real tight, right? I'm going to get real tight there. I can't believe I'm showing it lacing. I'm not a pro lacer. So, grain of salt here. Now, so you would have 3 laces you use at the time. Now, these are kind of easy, though, because you have these insides, so I don't even have to put it through. I don't even have to, like, lace it through anything. I can just actually bring it over and bring it through. And sometimes it won't hit exactly even, so you decide a little bit up or a little bit below. I'm going to go a little bit below because I want to err on the side of caution here. Meaning that, oh, and by the way, if I want to keep things out of line, I loosely take the other side loosely and wrap it around the twisting wire, and that'll keep it out of my way. Loosely. If you do it tightly, it's going to get all kinked up. So then we're putting it through. I'm not going to make you watch me doing the whole lacing thing. I'll just go to the end. Now, I did that, so I got that one. I'm going to poke it through. The other side, now I do have to poke it. Now I got a little loop on it, which I don't normally do. I think I'm feeling like, so yeah, we want to keep that straight. Poke it on through again. Always kind of straightening my wire as I go so it's ready to poke through. One thing about working with like 32 gauge wire, though, is like working with hair or something. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over, flip it over. Now, if you want to see lacing, I know there's better videos than this one. So I'm just showing you how to lace this leaf. Okay, so I'm pulling it through, kind of tight. Not too tight, because again, if you snap your lacing wire, it's absolutely fixable, but it is irritating. Okay, so then because this is in between these two, right, and it's open, for this one, I can just go in between the 2 layers, bring it around. I don't have to poke it through anywhere. Go like that, and then through again. I'm going to go just to the edge of this one, and then I'm going to finish it off without you guys having to watch me. So now again, because I want to show you kind of what things come up. As you're working, these things get a little bit munched up. So keep them shaped, right? You can kind of push them up, keep them shaped so that they follow that trend there. Now I'm on this one, so I'm going to pull it through. I'm going kind of, and I'm kind of like averaging down, meaning if I hit, the wire hits in between, instead of going up, I'm going down because I can already see that I'm slightly above where I need to be, right? So funny, I'm trying to do this, like, and I can't look straight down at it because I'm trying to hold it straight up to the camera. So it's definitely a lacing challenging moment. Okay, so again, I'm just needing to pull that around. Be gentle when you pull it. You want it to get in between the beads, and these matte transparents can be rough on that, right? They can definitely grab onto things. There's a lot of friction. It's not as smooth as the other finishes. Okay, so now I'm getting to the end. I'm checking again that I'm keeping my shape. I'm holding it. I'm forcing it to be that shape. You know, I'm forcing these to kind of follow the trend of the previous rows, not to kind of buckle up. And I'm at the last one now. I'm going to pull this through. I just totally pulled one off. I knew as I was doing it. I'm like, I'm not pulling it through. I'm pulling it like back again. Okay, there we go. That was so funny. I totally knew what I was doing as I did it. I still did it. Okay, I was going one row over in anticipation of being at the end, apparently. Okay, so last one. Again, you're gonna, even if it hits straight on, it doesn't matter. You know, we're just trying to do this for stability. We want about 1/4 of an inch of little, you know, top showing that we're gonna bend, and the rest we want to be solid. So for the last bit through, I do it twice just to keep it solid. So I go around again, and I do the last row, I wrap twice, right? I don't know if that's a normal thing, but that makes me feel like it's not going to unravel as easy. And just make sure you cut on the back flush against the wire. Okay, so that side's done. Now again, I'm not going to make you watch the other side because it's already getting long, but now I can do it from this direction, right? Before I was holding it upside down to go out. Now if I want to do this side, I can hold it this direction. And again, the first one's pretty easy because I don't have to like poke it through because it's exposed. That side's already exposed. And so I'm trying to show you that, like, you don't have to make it go super slow like I was doing before. You can just pull it through, do your lacing around, and then that one I don't have to poke it through because I can just pull it through this row. It's a lot easier when I'm doing it upright. This one I can do it. See, when I'm doing it upright, it's a lot easier to work with these because it's not like I'm lacing across one. I actually have open wire here. So now that was a little bit loose on the bottom, but I'm going to take it. That's okay. So even if I stick it through here, right? So I'm going to stick it through this one. It's going to come through here. But now watch, I don't have to stick it through again. I can actually pick it up and just like go through that empty space right there. Same with this. I don't have to poke it through. But now I'm going to be careful because I'm going to look and go, okay, I'm hitting it right where I need to hit. You know, you don't want to, and now I do have to go through the circle. I mean, go through the loop. But again, here, see, like how fast we did that side. I wasn't going to show you, but I wasn't going to make you watch it. But I just wanted you to see, like, especially going this direction up with the top up here, you don't have to worry about it as much because I don't have to go. I can just kind of use the openness between the flanges, the loops, the side loops. Let's call them side loops. Between the side loops to, you know, not have to thread. Basically, I don't have to thread very much. So again, the last row, I do a double. I do it through twice. Sometimes I even do it 3 times. Now, with this one, so I'm cutting really close. That's the black wire. I feel like I did one with lacing with the green wire. I was going to show you that before I paused to finish it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I already used it on another. It's very possible that I used it on another flower already. But I just wanted you to see the fact that the oh, I did use it on the original one. That the lighter colors definitely show up more than just the black. If you can't find a truly dark green, then I would go for the black. Where did I use it? Oh, this is one of them, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to see on the camera. But see, this is the lighter green here. And it's not a big deal. It's just if you have them both, I would go with the darker. You can see the lighter green, but it's only on the underside, mostly. So, you know, it's just a thought. Anyhow, so I'm going to finish up this lacing because this is already a cajillion hours long. Okay, minutes long. I'm going to finish up the lacing, and then we're going to finish up period with this guy. It's funny, as I was lacing that one, I was like, wait a second. I don't have to like do all the lacing. I can show you on one that's already laced. But now I have this one at least to finish too. So I am showing you the very end of the lacing. And you can actually, you know, if you, well, you'll figure it out with your hands, but you can actually, even when it's the upside down version, you can kind of come backwards and not have to lace through. Now that I said that, I'm like double thinking myself. There we go. Bring it around. Again, most of them just about 1/4 inch to the top. And you do want them to be in between. Now that can be a lacing wire buster. So you can kind of artificially kind of wiggle and jiggle it in there. Make sure you're getting it in there. But that can be so frustrating. You got to find a lacing wire you trust. This one, I'm scared I'm about to bust it. I am at the end though. So, and because they are tight. And so I'm trying to get that one in between. There we go. It went in there. So you kind of sometimes have to wiggle and jiggle it. And you want to use one that, like I said, that you trust. A good wire, a good 32 gauge. So it don't even worry about the color as much as it being one you trust. If you use a silver one, go for it. You know, it won't hide as much, but at least you won't be frustrated. So anyhow, so there we go. Now what do we do with it? Okay, so now we do the shaping thing. So we got this one. And we're going to do just a little bit of shaping, and then this is about to be over. I'm going to pull this straight, and that's what it looks like after I laced it. Now, again, I laced it about 1/4 inch down across here, and across here. About 1/4 inch, right? You know, maybe, like I said, 5 beads going up that side. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Now, here's what I do with these little twisted ends. So this might be hard to see on the camera, though. So I'm going to be looking straight at them, and I grab one of these little nub things. I don't like that word, but you know, grab one of these little guys, and I'm going to do this maneuver. I'm going to, now watch my hands, but you can shape them however you want to be honest. But I'm going to grab this little bit. I'm going to pull it down and kind of twist it out at the same time. Pull down and twist out at the same time. Pull down, twist out. I want a 3D effect on this, right? On this side, I'm going to do the same thing, but backwards. So I'm going to push it away because now this is the top, right? So I'm going to push down, pull out, push down, pull out. So I want this sort of side view. This is the top. This is the top. This is the bottom. So I have them kind of twist out like that. So you get sort of a 3D look on them. And then you bend the whole leaf, and you do the same thing I talked about before with the basic frame, right? And this one there's only one top bead, so you don't care about that. But on the bottom, you want to push right where at the bottom bead in the center wire of the basic frame. You're gonna push on that and push it up. That's gonna give you a nice little kind of natural curvature to this, right? And then you shape them how you want. If you see a little extra, gap in between, that won't matter so much with the leaves because they're dark, they're next to the thing, so they're not going to be seen that much. So I just shape them kind of in a simple curvature with this, the front being curved, and then these sides, can kind of do their own thing. I'm twisting and I'm getting them kind of, to have a little bit of a 3D effect. So they're not flat on there. And so they end up looking something like that. Now, again, it might be hard to kind of see on this, but you can see on the side, you can see the little bits. Actually, I can't see right in the middle of my camera because the holder's there. But so I think you can see them right now where you can kind of see where these little things are being bent down. You can shape them however the heck you want to, but that's how I shape these. So this one I had flattened already to show you and then acted like I had to redo this one. I could have just grabbed this one. So again, this is the bottom. You can tell it's the bottom because we see the wire and I see the, you know, exposed part of that. So this is the top. So again, you can curve them first if you want to. Curve them first, doesn't matter. And then if I curve them first and maybe I'm holding it so that this again is the top and this is the underside, top side, underside. And so I'm holding it like this. And then I'm going to twist my little side bits. So, and it's easier for my wrist to do this side backwards. So I twist them again so that they're just like that, aiming out. Have the little side there. And then you can even put a little like side twist or something to like make it look a little less uniform, a little bit like it's doing its own thing. So you can kind of do like an extra curvature on it, you know, like something like that. Make it, that looks like kind of a Japanese wave from a painting. You know, you can do all kinds of things with them, but that's the basic, just as I first curve them and I do these little sharp edges. I kind of twist and turn them sideways out. So again, let's see if there's one that I have that's not done again one more time. So I have this 2-incher. This is the longer one. So for this longer one, and this I will type out. So for this longer one, I did a 2-inch basic frame in the middle, still 3 rows. And instead I did 4.5 inches for the side loop, and then 4 inches and then 3.5. So I basically went down by 1/2 inch size of each loop. But again, this is the top side. This is the underside right now. So I'm going to turn it over, kind of aim it towards me. I'm going to do my curvature. I can do that first. Apparently I feel more natural doing it first. And again, I already did this with this one, but poke this bead through. Not hard, just enough. You're just pushing it gently so that you get this roundedness to it right here. And it has a nice, it's not just about that one bead. That kind of rounds out this whole region, right? Same with basic, just regular basic frames. So now again, I'm going to do the twist and turn, twist and turn, twist and turn. So it's like turn sort of these like flat side bits. You don't have to shape them that way. Twist and turn, like turn down, twist sideways. Turn down, twist sideways in one motion. So you get this cute little like kind of, again, it gives it sort of a 3D because they're not all doing the same thing in the same like flat plane. And then you can make these again any shape. You can even turn them a little bit sideways, a little bit wonky on themselves, so it looks like, you know, they're growing differently. So you get sort of this twist on it. All this kind of stuff can happen. Now, the other option, again, was to do the one I threw away somewhere. Holy cow, here it is. If you don't want to do 3 lacings, you can do this version, which is a 5-row basic with 2 sets of outer loops. And on this one, I did a 1.5, and I'll write this down, the original 1.5 basic, 5-row, round bottom, pointed top, with 4-inch, 4-inch, 3.5 inch, 3.5 inch. And again, I'll write that down. So if you only want to do a 2 lacer, you can do this. And you do the same thing. You press that bottom bead. It's like your button to a natural curvature. That bottom bead right there, just press that bottom bead button. And it's not about the bottom bead as much as just making this smooth now. It's just a way to kind of, with your thumb. And do the same thing. Twist and turn, twist and turn. I can't do it from that angle. Twist and turn, and twist and turn. And so this one, you know, it's not quite as detailed as the 3. You know, it doesn't have quite the same level of detail, but it is definitely pretty in and of itself. It gets the job done, and there's less lacing. Now I just noticed, look, this little piece sitting out the side because the bead went a little wonky. Push it back. Wire. Who's the boss? It or you? The answer, you. You're the boss. Uh-oh. Just tell me I have low battery now. Imagine that. Okay, so that's these, and that's the one, these are the ones I use the most often. I will sometimes also use these because I actually do like this sort of blunter cut, especially for smaller version. Oh, speaking of which, for the smaller version, you want to scale these down, right? So for the smaller version, you know, I'll figure out the ratio that would work for the smaller version. Same idea, but we would just have a shorter basic frame and a smaller leaf, right? So that's it. And then I'm going to show you the other one is truly optional. At this point, I kind of don't even know if I want to add it, but some people might like it, especially for if you're doing a bigger, you can scale it up and it looks kind of cool. So those are our leaves though for the ones that work the most often for me. And again, I would not myself make 2 of the same size, so I make one slightly smaller, but that's not even necessary. If you want to stick with the same size, that's fine. If you see that the rows are getting a little bit wonky, that's okay. Push them back together, or don't even worry about it. They're going to be at the base of a leaf underneath a lot of the action, so it's okay, you know. But again, choose a lacing wire that you trust. I'm trying to get to the button and end it for you guys. So there's our leaves. I'm going to talk about this one next. And if you like this one, which got a little bit messed up, then you will have that option also. So, done for now. See you guys in a bit.